So, could Spider-Man save Abraham Lincoln? So in this hypothetical scenario, we're saying Spider-Man existed back then, and Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth in the theatre. So, two scenarios here. So let's say Spider-Man is in the booth with Abraham Lincoln. John Wilkes Booth is fucked. He shouldn't even try that shit. Like, I don't think that's much up for debate. Just want to clear that scenario out the way. Scenario number one, bro. Like, Spider-Man's reacting time with the Spidey sense and everything. He's fucking his shit up. Like, very, very quickly, very easily. I feel like. Having said that, there have been characters in the past who's managed to catch Spider-Man off guard with guns. However, a lot of those situations are kind of circumstantial. I feel like in this scenario, it's probably not going to happen. Like, I feel like Spider-Man's just going to be able to save him very easily. Worst case scenario, he takes the bullet, but I don't see why he'd ever need to do that in this scenario. But anyway, main scenario, so let's say Spider-Man, he's in the theatre, but he's in the crowd or something, right? So he's quite far away. John Wilkes Booth assassinates him in the booth from behind. So the thing is like, talk about Spider-Man Spidey sense. If you guys know anything about Spider-Man, ever watched Spider-Man media, read comics, you know Spider-Man Spidey sense usually goes off before the threat takes place. So let's say someone goes to shoot a gun at someone. Spider-Man's Spidey senses won't go off as the bullet's travelling through the air to allow him to dodge and react in time. It will go off before they pull the trigger. Same with a bomb. If a bomb's about to explode, his Spidey senses will trigger before the explosion starts. Okay? Like, so what would happen is, if Spider-Man's in the theatre, he will hear Spidey senses ringing, and he can normally tell why. Okay? And obviously, even if he can't tell the direction the threat's coming from, he can kind of think to himself, like, the president's here. People like assassinating president, powerful figures, right? Like, let's go check on the president. I think if John Wilkes Booth's already gone into the booth, he's already got his gun aimed, it's going to be tough. We've seen Spider-Man pull stuff off like this before. I think he could shoot his webs, zip on over, and then defend Abraham Lincoln and defeat John Wilkes Booth. I do think in both scenarios, in the booth or out of the booth, Spider-Man could do it, but I think out of the booth is definitely much harder. Can he zip over in time? Depends. It depends how early his Spidey senses go off, to be honest, on that scenario. And if he's already in his outfit, if he's not already in his outfit, he might be hesitant to just show himself zipping across and reveal his identity. He might not do that at all. He might have to go for an outfit change, but I don't think he'd do that. I think Spider-Man cares about the lives of innocent people more than his identity, I feel like. But maybe he would try and hide himself, which would then buy John Wilkes Booth even more time. But if Spider-Man's already in the costume, I think there's a very high chance, because he doesn't even have to necessarily zip over. If he's got a clear line of sight to John Wilkes Booth in that booth where he got assassinated, he could just shoot a web at the gun, yank it off him, zip on over, beat his ass. However, in this scenario, Spider-Man is back then. We can't just have Spider-Man be back then. We've got to consider the possibility of other Spider-Man characters back then. What if Venom was back then and John Wilkes Booth had the symbiote? Then Abraham Lincoln would be fucked, because Spider-Man's Spidey senses do not go off with Venom, because of the bond him and the symbiote previously had. So if he had the Venom symbiote, John Wilkes Booth is destroying Abraham Lincoln, and Spider-Man and Venom are going to have a full-on brawl in that theatre. If Spider-Man's in the booth, however, then maybe he could still save Abraham Lincoln's life. I don't know. But the thing is, I feel like if the Venom symbiote is with him, and Spider-Man's is attached to John Wilkes Booth, and Spider-Man's in the booth with Abraham, the symbiote will probably compel him to shoot Spider-Man first. So then it becomes a question, can Spider-Man save himself? Yeah, I think if he has the Venom symbiote on him, then is Spider-Man coming out of the situation alive? I mean, Venom's one of his toughest opponents. Who knows, But I definitely don't think Abraham Lincoln is. I mean, I think if he's got the Venom symbiote, the president's pretty fucked there, But I think if it's just standard John Wilkes Booth with Spider-Man, I think 90% of the time, at least, Spider-Man's going to be able to save Abraham Lincoln from being assassinated by John Wilkes Booth at the theatre. Let me know if you guys agree, if you think I got anything wrong. Does my knowledge need to be checked? I feel like I've made a very valid point here as to why Spider-Man would be able to save the president. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.